Okay, so let's say I got the guy where I want him. I'd probably still go back in and clean up a little bit, but we're going to zoom back out. All right, now I've got this guy in here. I want to go and make sure I have my background scene. I'm going to put him in here somewhere. So what I'm going to do is go to my move tool, and then I'm going to click, and I'm just going to drag him into the jungle and then pull him in. All right, so now we can see. You see the hair in here. He looks like he fits a little bit more than just a cut and paste. But what I want to do is make it look like he's kind of hiding back behind these. Let's put him back here a little bit, kind of back behind those plants. All right, now that I've got my guy in here, it should come up and it should come up with a vector mask. Okay, that's this right here. So make sure that you're not selected on this thumbnail, but the vector mask thumbnail. Because what we want to do now is I want to make him look like he's kind of hidden back behind here. So again, the black versus white. And what I want to do is I want to erase out some of this. So I want black and I want to see the leaves underneath here. Okay, we're not going to erase this whole thing here, but it's kind of hard to see where the edge is. So another thing we can do is we can take the opacity down to about, maybe not quite that much, but a little bit, kind of see where our edges are. And then if need be, I can go back in. So here's, like right here is this leaf right in here. So we're going to erase his shorts. We don't want any of that in here. Now realistically you would probably see his background a little bit. And I'm going to zoom in. Again, sometimes you just have to zoom in. And then I'm going to take my brush size down. Okay, now this is also where you can take the feathering out. I'm going to go back. And on this, I may want to take my opacity down. It was already at 77. Just to give a little bit of a softer edge for the edge of this leaf in here. And then I'm going to bring it back up. So again, it's something you have to play around with a little bit. Oh, I have that on the wrong thing. But we don't want it to be a real sharp edge right in there. We want to kind of go back and forth, clean that up. I probably need to zoom in even more to make sure I get this right. All right, now that we have him in here, there's really two different kind of color settings here. He's really, really bright in these greens. The color just doesn't work. And we probably need to put a little bit of a shadow down in here. So I'm going to show you how to adjust the colors a little bit. First thing, make sure that you're clicked on the actual image, not the mask. Okay, and then go to Image, Adjustment, Levels or Curves. Okay, so we'll go to Levels. And then you can kind of adjust the levels this way. Remember, you don't want to adjust a lot. We actually want to go to like an R, G, or B and kind of mess around with the reds just a little bit. You can see kind of turned him a little bit, so let's go to the green. That kind of gives him a little bit of a greener reflection. Let's try messing around with the blue a little bit. Again, it's something you got to kind of play around with a little bit. There, he looks too blue there, so we'll take some of this blue there. Some of that green's in there, so the color kind of fits a little bit. So you have to play around with that. Like I said, you can go to Limit Adjustment and go to Curves and mess with the same thing. Maybe you can adjust it this way, but you can see it kind of does too much one way or the other. So it just depends on the color that you want. So if we want to get a little bit more green in there, again, pull him in or pull it back out a little bit. That's almost too much. So you have to play around with it, see what fits. Okay, so now the colors kind of match maybe a little bit. They're not exact. All right, so now what I want to do is maybe put a little bit of a shadow in here to touch up a few things. So I'm going to go to my brush tool and I want to make sure, so I'm going to click and then right click I'm going to make sure I'm on a soft brush because I'm going to put it like a soft shadow. I don't want a real hard edge here. So my softness is down. And then I want to pick a color that is kind of this dark green. So when I click over here on my greens, you're going to see this eyedropper coming up. And I want something around in here to look the same color. And what this does is it picks up and finds the similar color. So if you go OK, let's go this dark and paint in there. Oh, I know why I'm on the wrong layer is why. So now I want to kind of go in there. Always, that's the biggest problem, is making sure you're on the correct layer. So let's go back in the history panel and go back a couple steps. Make sure I'm on the right one. We're going to go back in again. Click a color. Let's go this darker color. Now let's try it. Okay, so we can put a little bit of a shadow around his hand. This is a little probably too hard to go in. I'm going to change this opacity down a little bit and go in with this with a lighter green color and try to soften that up just a little bit. So again, we don't want to make it look too obvious, but some other ways that you can do things, especially when you put people into things, think about shadows and how things will fit in just to make it fit a little bit better. So those are some things you need to think about when adding one thing into another, how it's going to fit well and how it just isn't a cut and paste image.